Hey, man.
Hey.
It's our last episode.
I know.
But probably not forever.
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe, maybe. But
I think I'll be back out here. I don't think this is a forever thing, per se.
I think you'll be back out here, too. And I don't usually think that, right? Because a lot of people live in Southern California and leave because it's hard to live here.
Right.
And they always say, I'll be back. And I usually think, you probably won't be, for a variety of reasons. You, I think, might actually probably come back because there's still so much of the work that you do out here.
Yeah, I mean...
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everything that I've started out here is still going to continue on.
Exactly. That's why I think you might end up coming back. You're also still so young. It's like a lot of my friends, when they leave Southern California, they're 36, 37, 38, 40s. Still single, but wanted to have a family. And so that's kind of why they're leaving. And then if they meet someone, they don't end up coming back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I also see you coming back, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of reasons for me to come back.
Totally.
Whether it's to visit. I mean, maybe I'll live out here another 10 years. Who knows?
Right,
you know
totally.
what I mean? But there's plenty of reasons for me to come back out here.
Even if it's just to visit or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about why you are moving? Start with that.
Yeah. The main reason being, I mean, this thought has been like in and out of
since I've known you.
Yeah, for a while. And the thought being that I should probably spend more time with my family. And reason being is that, as I matured and got older, my family never really seen a good side of me, and that's being from like 18 to 25, 26. And then I was out here, and then I got my life together out here, and they've only experienced that in small increments.
That's a really good point that I never thought of.
Yeah.
They never really got to see that side of you.
Yeah, they only know like a small piece of me now. And I feel like it's incredibly unfair to them to support me and be there for me through this journey, but not get to experience the benefits.
That's actually a really good point.
And
like, I didn't even know you had a brother.
Yeah, I got a brother. I got a niece that doesn't even know me.
Right.
Like she knows me, but she don't know me.
Right. Have you met her?
Yeah. I've met her. I've hung out with her and stuff like that. Like, I've gotten her Christmas gifts and all those things. But it's more that she doesn't have like a personal relationship with me.
Right.
And I don't think that's okay.
That's a really good point, and I never thought of any of that. I like, just for whatever reason, and I don't love this, but my family is very, like, it's weird. We're close emotionally, and we're close, like, on the phone and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, I didn't see my brother once for, like, 7 years. I wish it wasn't that way. And I'm always in awe of, like, one of the women that used to work for me at the studio, my friend Lauren. Her family was so important to her, and seeing them all the time. And it was like really a hard decision to decide to live here versus Massachusetts. And I forget about that because I'm so disconnected. But that's like really important. And I wasn't even thinking about any of that. Of course, like, you got sober out here and they've been totally supportive, but haven't gotten to experience the joy of you being healthy.
Yeah, exactly. The fact of it is that like they're getting older,
right?
And I would expect to live longer than them. And like with my dad per se, I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him. He was a single dad for the majority. And then like when he could be around, I was like a teenager by that point, and I was off doing my thing. You know what I mean? Didn't want to be home. You know what I mean? And so I feel as if I've always wanted to have that better relationship with my dad. And I know in my soul that if I don't do that, I don't think I'll be able to live with it.
Right.
And so I know I have a lot going for me out here. I have for some years now. And a lot of opportunities have came my way recently out here, but I've declined. And it's a lot of money, but I don't. That doesn't suffice. Like not being able to live with something. You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's just short term.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that any of this? Well, two things. First, I want to say, your opportunities though go with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I kind of realized that after, this is kind of cheesy, but do you know that Maren Morris song, The Bones? When the bones are good, the rest don't shout it. That song? Okay. So I know that's kind of a cheesy song, but I used to always play that song at my studio, and say it was like the bones were the studio and the foundation was so great. But then when I sold it and moved on, I realized that I was the bones and I go anywhere, because I thought that my success and my serenity and happiness and value was tied in that business opportunity. And it took me like a year or so to realize that, no, I'm the bones. I made that. Like, I can make it again.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for you. The opportunities will go with you. So though you're passing up some now, and some, as you and I have talked about, you can also do some of them remote, or you'll be able to recreate them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then also, do you think that any of this has been kicked off by your mom passing?
I think after that, it definitely was more prevalent in my mind.
Totally.
Especially like when I was visiting in September, it was definitely on my mind. And like my brother, he'll call sometimes and be like, hey, like, when are you planning on visiting again? And he's like, Dad's asking about you, and he says he misses you. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like,
Totally.
how the fuck am I supposed to, you know what I mean? It's just like a gut check. And so it's just like hard to ponder that, to keep it on my, to just be like, yeah, what do I do? So I'd rather just do it. Because
Totally.
I know that it's going to be bittersweet. And it's been very somber for me to, preparing to leave. But I know in some time now, I'm not going to, like, long term, I'm not going to regret. I'm going to be very grateful that I did it.
Absolutely.
And like, I go, what I've done and what I've created goes everywhere that I go. Like, everything I've done out here, like I said, is going to keep going forward. And I've had the opportunity to, like, put other people on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To, like, because
you've left a legacy, whether or not you're present. I
guess, yeah.
You have.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I know now way more than I ever did because I met you.
Yeah.
And that's I'm one of many, right? And so, and I'm even in recovery and had no awareness of policy, actual harm reduction, like, I didn't even know about any of that. And so since you have spread that message here and then also trained people to continue doing it, you've been able to leave. I mean, maybe you don't want to use the word legacy because you're humble, but you have been able to leave the workings of what you started.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people are still here to do that work. It's not like you're leaving behind the community. There are other people that are able to do it, nor is the community your responsibility, which is hard for you to see.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, no, and it's not everything.
Your family is your responsibility.
Everything's not my burden to bear.
Totally.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to realize that.
Totally, absolutely. There are also limited years when you can move where you're not married and you don't have kids.
Yeah.
Like, even for me right now, if I wanted to move to Georgia, I have to factor in, well, Skylar is the primary earner and how we have our insurance and stuff. So, like, for me to move, he would also have to find a job. You know what I mean? Like, it really does, things change and you're in a position where you can just up and move. That's one of the reasons why I moved to LA at 22. I knew. I was like, I am completely unattached. I'm not carrying anything with me. I can move cross country right now and follow this opportunity without dragging anybody with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, nothing is holding me back. And that's the position that you're in right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like a good position to be.
It really is.
Yeah.
I think so.
So do you already know what you want to do for work there when you get there?
Right now, I have 2 consulting jobs.
That you can do remotely?
Yeah.
Okay.
It pays me really well.
Okay.
They're part-time, but I mean, the part-time is like more than most people make there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like pretty cushy. The work comes and goes, and so I may have to get something like a little, part-time job.
That's what
you know what I mean? But nothing crazy, and then I'm going to be doing like weight training for the high school, I think.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You're going to love that.
Yeah. So I've already talked to the coach, or my dad talked to the coach. And he said,
that's awesome.
And so I don't know if it's just going to be for football or basketball or whatever, but I was like, whether or not I get paid for it, I doubt they're going to pay me for it, but it's just like something to do.
Right. Well, it also give you experience, because I know personal training is something you also kind of want to do.
Yeah.
The hardest part of that is getting experience.
Yeah.
And now you would have that experience.
Yeah.
Are you going to live with your dad? Where are you going first?
I'm going to stay with my brother first.
Oh, your brother. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to stay with my brother, and then there's some programs over there that I could work with and stuff like that. There's a few people, or there's a few companies within the harm reduction space that work there, so I might reach out to them and see what they've got going on.
Okay.
And then my friends are doing a warming shelter that I think is like volunteer based. It's like very low barrier. Like, there's really I don't think there's any barriers to get in there. It's just if they have enough room, you know what I mean, or whatever. But it's all like volunteer ran, so they're doing that. So I'll probably try to be a part of that and just kind of get my toes wet over there. I mean, right now, I mean, I supply like all the Narcan in like the town that I live in for the most part. I think,
you already do now, anyways.
Yeah, I already do now. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So like the fire department, the rescue squad, the police department, like people that use, you know what I mean? Like that all comes from me.
Do people that live there know you're coming home? Have you heard from any old friends or anything that are like stoked that you're coming back?
Yeah. Some people that I know, they're pretty stoked that I'm coming back. You know, they want to make plans and stuff like that. So yeah.
Are there any people that you're kind of like worried about running into again because you left things weird when you were using, or no?
I mean, I probably owe some people some money or something like that, but
not even that emotionally. Like people you fucked over, or I guess it was a long time ago.
I mean, if I see them, I've got an amends wrote out for them.
Okay,
you know what I mean. So I mean, I don't really. I know that can either go one or two ways. They're entitled to accept it or tell me to go fuck myself.
Right.
Either way, it's about me trying to ride it and having the willingness to do it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure it's going to be uncomfortable in the moment. But I don't really think about it. I mean, the people that I had the most beef with, they're in prison right now for murder. So, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
well, there you go.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah.
What are you the most looking forward to about moving?
Besides my family,
I guess.
Yeah.
So family first, but then what else after that?
Probably slower pace of life.
Yeah.
Probably a slower pace of life. Like everything's just chill.
Total. Even the weather too.
Yeah.
I know it's colder, but can't you? I can see it. I can envision it right now. You look outside. The light here is summer, even though it's February right now. The light there looks like winter.
Yeah. Well,
it's different.
I like the changing of the season. I like spring. I like fall. You know, winter's cool. You know what I mean? I like all the seasons.
Does it snow there in your city? Oh, it does.
Yeah.
So, like, is there snow on the ground right now?
There has been, yeah.
Oh,
I think that
wow.
when the last storm hit, I think they got like 6 or 7 inches.
Bro, do you even have any jackets? I don't.
I don't have
I don't.
I got a pair of Carhartt coveralls.
Okay.
And some hoodies. I got some thermals for snowboarding.
You have what we think suffices. I remember before I went to New York in October, it ended up not being cold at all, but I thought it was going to be, and normally it would have been. And I was showing Jana what I had, and she was like, Janine, you're going to be freezing your ass off. And I was like, no, that's a jacket. And she was like, that's a California jacket. That's a San Diego jacket. That's not a New York jacket. And she like gave me all this shit to borrow. And I was like, God, she's right.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know anymore how fucking cold it really is somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Tennessee. I've been in Tennessee how many times in the cold?
I guess that's true.
Probably,
I guess you've visited. I haven't visited in 20 years or something.
Yeah,
I've been back twice.
I think for the most part there, I mean, unless it gets like super cold, like I can handle it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, I drove around with a truck in like no heat for many years.
Right.
It would be like in the negatives.
I'm picturing it with but I don't think this is true. I think I'm confusing you with Zach.
Yeah.
Did you have a busted out back window?
No, but my front windshield was cracked very heavily.
Okay.
And it was a beat up Toyota.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Because Zach, you know my friend Zach.
Yeah, I know Zach.
He would drive around in a truck that he hadn't finished paying for, of course, and the back window was completely busted out. And he drove like to our wedding from San Diego up to San Francisco, fucking ripped on meth, was in the wedding. I didn't notice how fucked up he was, but I guess other people did. And afterwards, Skylar's dad gave him like $100 and was like, I think you should just drive yourself home, son. Like you're a little, it's a little much right now, with no idea he was going to drive back to San Diego. But he did. Like the same day, he put money in the truck and drove back with the window busted out and was on the phone with Ivy almost the whole time to like stay awake.
That's crazy.
I know. And I can picture him just like all the fast food rappers are like blowing around because he's on the freeway, like chain smoking cigarettes. Isn't that crazy? So for some reason I was connecting like a truck with a busted out back window.
Yeah, my truck was beat to hell and back.
Right,
I mean, it was like an 87 model, but the windshield was busted out, had no heat, no AC.
Yeah. Doesn't every car have heat though? Because it just comes off the engine, or it was just broken the way that it does
I think the thermostat. I think I replaced the thermostat in it or something.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Exactly.
I just remember my dad telling me that because when I was looking at cars, I was like, well, I got to make sure I have heat. Yeah. And he was like, every car has heat. It comes off the engine.
Yeah, no, they do.
And I was like, oh.
There was just something that was messed up. It wasn't the thermostat. I think it was something that pulled from the engine to put it in the vents. But I mean, it didn't. I froze my ass off.
Yeah. Dude, we finally took Skylar's car in, the one that he was in Mexico in. I don't even know if I ever told you this. Did I tell you the whole nothing worked electrically because he thought the CIA was like in the car.
Right.
And so he dismantled. He didn't even know what he did. But nothing on the dash worked. So we never knew how much gas was in it. You never knew what speed you were going. The seats didn't adjust because everything was electrical. Bluetooth didn't work. Nothing. On a 2017 car. And the only way you could start it is if you took a golf tee and poked it into next to where the shifter is. You had to push it down to start the car. And I was like, how did you even figure out how to do that? How did you even know that? And he said, I don't know. I think I was like run out of gas in TJ or something, and the car broke down, and I had a golf tee sitting there. And I don't know what made me think to just tweak our innovation, just push it down. And he was like, or maybe it was sitting there, I don't know. And then the car started. But if you don't have the golf tee, it won't run. So I had to bring that car in recently, finally. So this is what I've been driving at 10 years sober. I mean, for the most part, I drive my little white car, but occasionally I've driven his, and it's like a total tweaker car still at 10 years. And so we finally had to take it in because it completely shut off the other day, and we thought it ran out of gas because the gas, whatever, but it wasn't. We put gas in, it didn't run. So we brought it to a mechanic, and I told the mechanic, I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, so we loaned this car to a family member who we think was maybe like doing drugs or something. Like, I'm some lady that doesn't know anything about this, you know? And I was like, and I think maybe he was doing drugs or something. I don't know what happened, but he's messed up the electrical so bad, nothing turns on. And the guy was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I know. He was like, that's so weird. I was like, I know. I'm so sorry. And he said, and then he went and looked at it, and he called me later, and Skylar was sitting right next to me on the couch, and I put it on speaker. And he was like, so let me ask you, your friend that borrowed it, was he doing, do you know, was it like meth? And I said, you know, I think so. Why? And he was like, because I've seen this before. I had somebody one time who was high on crystal meth. He brought his car in and wanted to leave it with us because he said he was being tracked in it. And then like a week later, his family came and got it. And he was like, it just reminds me of that. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And Skylar was just sitting there shaking his head. I was like, oh my God. That's fucking crazy.
That's fucking wild.
I mean,
know. It's no surprise. I know. I'm not surprised.
I know, me neither. I'm surprised it's even been running this whole time.
I'm surprised you still have it. No disrespect to Skylar.
Of course.
But I remember like when that was like he was thinking that early on.
I know.
And that like
I know
persisted over time. So it's a miracle he didn't
just like take it to a junkyard or something.
Or scrap it or something, right, you know, totally. And get the money for it.
I know. And you know, I think that I don't think I've ever shared this. I think I maybe started that with him inadvertently because he'd only been using for like a few months. And I thought I saw, this couldn't have been her, but I thought I saw his ex-girlfriend at my gym. And she doesn't live here or anywhere near here. But I said to him, I was like, I could have sworn I saw blah at the gym. Not realizing he was snorting Ritalin every day. Like I didn't know he'd been using yet. But I remember his response was really weird. He was like, where? And I said, well, it wasn't her, but it looked exactly like her at the 24-Hour Fitness. And he was like, what time?
Oh, shit.
And I started thinking like, oh, this is a really weird response. And like, Skylar, it wasn't her. She doesn't live here. And he had this odd response. And then later, she was part of the conspiracy. He thought that her family was having him followed. Oh, and Jesus. So later, I was like, damn, I think I accidentally started that. I didn't mean to.
No, that's not your fault.
No, of course not. No, of course not. But I'm like, because that particular thing kept coming up, and even his family, because they didn't even have like a super bad breakup, or I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't like some awful thing. And even his family was like, why does that keep coming up for him? And I remember that moment. I'm like, fuck, I bet that's why.
It probably was.
Because I like brought that up, you know?
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Right, but whatever, exactly.
It happens.
Right. So the thing you're most looking forward to. Did I interrupt you or did you say it?
I think I said besides like seeing my family, it's probably like a slower pace of life.
Right, you did say that. Okay.
You know, it's kind of cool to just like, I don't want to say I'm starting from scratch, but I get to go over there and like build like I did here. And
totally.
I think that's kind of cool. And to me, it's like a challenge and it's fun. And I have to think or get innovative. It's kind of like, you might have to cut this because I don't even know, but it's kind of like when you first start selling drugs. Like I remember when I first started selling drugs and I took like $800 and I bought like half a pound.
Right.
And then I got to figure out how to move that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like a hustle. It's just like I have to think.
Totally. And I don't have to cut that because that's one of my whole things is you can use all of those skills in sobriety, especially if you were a connect. I was too much of a fucking drug addict. I never could be. But if you were someone that had to buy, wait, cut it up, move it, think about the ways to do that. You have entrepreneurial skills. Yeah. And I know people are like, you don't want to think that. But the reality is it's fucking true.
No, it is. And so that's what it's like to me. It's like I have to figure out ways to like, how do I get supplies? How do I get resources? How do I meet this person? How do I eat? So it makes me think it's like brain food for me.
Yeah, totally. It's a new challenge. Yeah. And you had kind of exhausted a lot of the paths here.
Yeah,
I think that's why you felt so burned out.
Well, not even that. I think a lot of it was just like watching the system just like fight itself.
Yeah.
And it's just when you realize you're just like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Totally.
And it's like there's not fucking, and it's just day in and day out. It's exhausting, and then you get bitter and whatnot, and it's a lot.
So what if you start feeling that in Tennessee as well, because the system will be set up the same way there too.
If not
do you think
worse.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you think this break in the excitement of it being new will help carry you through that challenge? It probably will.
I think it will, but I've also learned how to navigate things differently. I've learned I can't do all this shit by myself, which I did for the longest time because I just was afraid to trust people, you know what I mean? Because this was like my baby, you know what I mean? And I've seen like shady shit happen in the space. I'm like, man, I don't want that shit to happen to me. And so the only way to make sure that never happens is to not trust people, but you also get burnt out, and it's just it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
And so
so you're going into it now knowing all that.
Yes, and I'm gonna I think the mistake that I don't even know if I would say mistake, but the growing pain for me here was, and I don't even know if it was a growing pain because I was still successful, but the lesson I learned here is that, and I've seen other people do it, when people get traction, they want to take on too much before it's developed.
Okay.
And so I think there was a point where I was getting traction and I should have had more people helping me that wanted to, and I could have took a step back and done like administrative stuff and figured out that process. So as I got traction, I could have got like some sort of funding.
Right.
You know what I mean? But with that being said, I've done all this with like no funding.
Totally.
Which is fucking insane.
That's really good what you just said though, because that applies to anybody in any situation, business included. So like, give me an example of what you mean. You can start getting traction so you take on more.
So I started getting like shows and stuff in LA and like getting asked to speak and do this, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta do all this shit.
Right, okay.
And so, and it's like, it's cool, it's overwhelming, and you're like, if I don't take this on, I'm gonna lose it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like in my head, I was like, this opportunity won't come back for me if I don't take it. And while I could have done that, if I would have had more people helping me doing stuff that I couldn't do while I was addressing this, I could have went farther and faster. And there's like, I think it's an African proverb. It's like, alone we go fast, but together we go far.
If you want to go fast, go alone.
Go alone.
If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah. And it's so cheap, but it's so...
It's like the opposite of an addict point of view, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm out here doing this shit by myself. I did the same thing at Cybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now I see, and like there's no other way. Like you have to trust. There's no fucking way around it. I cannot project my experiences or what I've seen onto other people. That's not fair to me, and it's not fair to them. You know, and I just have to, whatever develops, and I'll have to address it accordingly.
Totally.
And
because you're also potentially cutting them off from a cool new path of their life and learning because somebody else burned you. So you're like not wanting to trust a new person. That's actually really profound what you said.
Yeah.
We can't take our past experiences, not even just in relationships, but work relationships.
Anything.
Yeah. Like any sort of.
It's so easy to project an experience onto other people. And it's just, it's a protection mechanism, but it also it may protect you from that, but it also hinders growth.
It totally hinders growth. Yeah. My current boss actually does that a lot. I see her do that a lot. She won't ever listen to the show. She won't hear this, but like she easily thinks she's getting like ripped off by people. Easily. She doesn't trust anyone.
I do the same thing. I'm guilty.
Yeah, and it's because she's been ripped off on a super large scale by a romantic partner. Right? That took her for all she was fucking worth. But now when we're trying to hire an employee to work the desk, I'm like, you know, she's like, I don't know. I feel like you know, the vibes aren't good, and I got to learn to protect myself. And I'm like, okay, but also you need to learn that like this is not the same person, and we can't go into every job interview thinking they're trying to rip us off. You know what I mean? She does the same thing. Yeah. So I think that's good advice in all ways. You know what I mean? Not projecting your past, but it's very hard not to do.
No, well, it's easier said than done. I think it's just you gotta make up your mind that you're gonna give people a chance.
Totally.
You know what I mean? People gave me a chance, and I can't tell you that I was worthy of that chance,
right?
Or you know what I mean? But
that's a good point.
They trusted me,
right?
And I feel like I've done people right the whole time I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's either you do it or you don't.
Right.
And I know that if I don't, I'll just burn out again.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and I wouldn't say I'm burnt out now. I mean, I took the last year, I've not done near as much. Like last year, I didn't do near as much as I had the past 2 or 3 years.
You actively took steps to take stuff off your plate. Yeah. I mean, since I've known you, I've seen a lot of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, so I don't think I'm going to do things differently there. Okay. And like, I'm still going to be, my friends are doing the workout here, but I'm still going to be brokering shows and everything like that. And I'm either going to make what I do out here official, or I might leave it underground and start something official out there. I don't know yet. I'm like thinking on it, but I'm going to, while I'm there and I have a slower pace of life, and I'm probably going to take the time to make everything official finally.
Get the LLC, get the whatever, or whatever it is, the 501c.
Yeah, I'm going to make it official.
That's a good idea.
Because there's the opportunities that have come up will arise again in a few years. And these are opportunities worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Not that I would make that, but that would substantially, you know, and then if I have the people ready by then to do that, then I have people that can work for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that can be just something out here, and it can be, you know, an opportunity for them, and then they can do the things that I've done. You know what I mean? I had a friend that just, I got invited to a conference, and I didn't think I was going to be here, so I declined. And then I was here, but I never said anything to him. And, you know, and it was just like, my friend Brandon taught me that what is your success if you don't put other people on, and if you don't give someone else the opportunity. And it was really cool to like reach out to my friend and be like, hey, I'm not going to be here, but I know you're ready for this. I want you to take this and have this opportunity and this chance to do something like this because you're ready for it, and you deserve to have this moment and this experience because this is going to elevate you. That's
a good way to look at success.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing if we're not helping other people get there?
Yeah, that's totally true. So the thing that you're looking forward to the most would be slower pace of living.
Yeah.
What are you going to miss the most? What are you the most bummed out about leaving?
Probably my friends and like the culture out here, probably. The culture. For sure. Definitely the culture and like the people that I've like built relationships with out here, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what you just said about having things officially done so that you have more opportunities, it's just kind of like a fact of life. If you have the LLC, if you have the 501c, you have to have the paperwork for some of these grants.
Yeah, not even,
and that is the one thing you could never catch up on. Yeah. And same thing with me, by the way. I couldn't get a PPP for the studio because everyone else got PPPs during COVID. We didn't because I was paying people as contractors, not employees.
Yeah.
And I kept meaning to do it right. But everything was just getting away from me. So it was like my fault that I couldn't get that government funding because I didn't have the correct paperwork and tax forms. And it's like, we can lament how annoying that is, but it's just facts. And I've totally seen that with you too. You haven't been able to like take a breath and do things correctly. And you know what I mean? Or not even correctly, but on the books.
Yeah.
Which ultimately helps you.
Yeah, no, it does. It just looks official and people want to see that, and for grants or, even if people want to make a donation, like very few people are going to make a substantial donation without getting a tax
to your Venmo.
Yeah.
Right.
Without getting a tax write-off. You know what I mean? And I get that. And I respect that. So it'll make things a lot easier and it'll take the work, further. I mean, it's amazing. I've even done this as long as I have without no substantial income or funding. And it's done. I mean, it's reached like, last year we mailed like thousands and thousands of test strips like internationally, and that's a lot of fucking money.
Does anybody mail for you with you, or you do all the packing and mailing?
I do all the packing and mailing, and I was doing all the shows. I think did I ever have anybody?
I mean, Lauren helped with some of that, or Lauren helped with your schedule?
Lauren like did administrative stuff for me.
Oh, okay.
And I think her and G did like 1 or 2 shows for me.
Okay.
And then but other than that, before this year, it was just me. Other than those 2 shows, I was doing everything. Like as far as like the groundwork and the footwork and the shows and the mailing and all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you use a Google Calendar on your phone or anything?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay.
I do Google Calendar and I leave like notes and reminders and stuff.
You do.
Like that.
All right.
Yeah,
okay. So you're better about that than I am.
Yeah, I do all that stuff. Yeah. Now there's times like if my schedule's really busy, I will drop the ball.
Right.
Like for sure.
Right. Yeah.
On things.
Yeah. Well, we will miss you here, obviously, and I'm really glad that we did the show. I'm really grateful that you did it with me over the years. It was Kim's idea, right? After she moved, because I really wanted a co-host. I like the idea of having a co-host. And Kim suggested you. She was like, what about the guy that we had on? Narcan, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I really like the idea of a male-female hosting team. To me, that's like a really fun way to do a show.
Yeah.
And I obviously took her up on it. And I'm really glad that we've been able to do this together,
Yeah, no, I'm glad that's probably, I told somebody that's probably one of the best decisions that I made.
Really? Was doing that?
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, because I know there were times when you were struggling more that it was difficult on your schedule to do it consistently. And so I'm glad to hear that looking back, though, when you zoom out, you're glad that you did it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
good.
good.
100%. Yeah, it's been one of the best experiences out here.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah, no.
Well, actually, then let's jump into one of our questions was, this fits right in.
Okay.
What was your favorite episode? And I told you off air, I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, I want to hear what you're going to say. I don't tell you if I agree.
I know that you're going to say Peg.
Peg. Remind me.
The higher power person, but you come up with it on your own.
Oh yeah. As far as like the one that I got the most from, it was that one. And I think
what were you gonna say?
I was thinking of like the time that I got to talk the most shit. To be honest with you.
Okay, which one?
I think it was when the lady like went and robbed like some place and she put like $50,000 into casino and didn't wear a fucking mask.
That's
you know what I mean? Like,
that's my favorite moment with you.
Yeah.
I should go back and cut that into a clip. I think it's before I was doing as many clips.
Yeah.
That I was going to say is my favorite moment, probably with you and me.
Yeah.
We were interviewing, God, I forget her name, but she had like $50,000 in fraud. She was getting limos to the gas
was
station.
Was it foot fetish and shit like that too? Was that
No, that was Hannah Swart.
Okay.
That was the author who did the foot fetishes.
Okay.
Yeah, she ate so many carrots, she started to turn orange.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a different person.
Okay.
This chick, she had like $50,000 that she had ripped off from like a trick, right?
Yeah.
And was taking limos to the gas station and all this crazy shit, and got caught through a camera.
Yeah.
And I remember you cut in, and I still remember you were somewhere else too, because remember it was a day that you were running late. You just had to go back to wherever you were and do it.
Yeah.
And you were laying sideways on a bed like this. And I remember you went, hold on. God, I wish I could remember her name. And you were like, let me ask you something. All that money, you didn't buy yourself a wig? And I just started like crying, laughing. It was so fucking funny. That's my favorite moment, probably too.
Yeah.
But I think the episode that you probably liked the most was Peg's.
Yeah. No,
from all that.
Yeah, no, that was a great episode. She was very, I don't know if I want to say in tune or enlightened, but it was very eye-opening. It was eye-opening.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's right up your alley too. Yeah. It's exactly for the people that, I guess I'm going to do 12-step because I definitely need a change, but I have less than zero interest in some sort of higher power bullshit.
Yeah.
And she is the bridge to, it could be anything. It could be gratitude. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I loved that one too.
Maybe you should put it in your story so people know.
What story?
Peg's story. Like link it to, like put the episode that you're talking about in your story. Yeah. In a link.
That's another one that I don't know if I clipped any. Some of those I don't think I was getting videos from because they were on Zoom. I don't think I was doing that as much yet.
You weren't. Yeah, I don't think you were doing clips back then that much.
They just looked so bad on Zoom. Like we've got a few, but the Zoom ones just looked like so fuzzy and unprofessional.
Yeah.
But it's also funny to me that for all those episodes where I do have clips, even on Riverside, we're like this.
Oh, we're so in each other. Like we could probably feel each other breathing on each other. Of
course.
Yeah.
I would hear your stomach growl and you would hear my stomach growl. Like if I'd be hungry after teaching, my stomach would growl and we'd like look at each other. And the guest is talking about something really serious and I'm like,
Did the mic pick it up?
I know, exactly. I'm surprised it didn't sometimes.
Yeah, I forgot about how close we were.
Dude, we had one mic.
Yeah. Well, it's just been so long, I didn't even,
I know. But, it worked. And I feel like that was the other, if you're going to have a male-female dynamic, it has to be like a brother-sister vibe.
Yeah.
Because we have, you know what I mean? It can't be like two single people and, you know what I mean? Everything's going to be all fucked up.
Oh, for sure.
Of course, right? Yeah. And so I think that's what helped it work. Because I would have people say, they'd be like, how do you share that? Because all these women think you're so hot. And they'd be like, how do you share that mic with him? And I'm like, y'all don't even think about it. I'm going to be so honest. I don't even think about it, And I've had other people ask too what Skylar thinks.
Yeah.
And you know how Skylar was like more enthused than anybody to have you do it with him.
Skylar's so unbothered.
He's so unbothered. He's so unbothered. Okay. Yeah. He's also like, this is so interesting to me. He is the least jealous person I've ever met in my entire life. He has never, ever, ever expressed, which is actually, I don't know if this is a good thing, but it's a good thing. He has never expressed any sort of jealousy about another person ever in 8 years. Not once. No, not once. And I have a lot of male friends and interview guys alone, and he has never once ever. And I think it was something in the way that they were maybe like raised, which is really interesting because his sister is kind of the same way. My brother-in-law and I were talking about it. He'll like go to lunch with women coworkers, and she's like, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Not crazy though.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah,
I know, it's totally different. Do you ever get jealous with people? You have to sometimes, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, everyone does.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
Except these two.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the difference was in their upbringing, or if it's something, or I don't know how you get to that point.
I don't either. Yeah. Even in the very beginning, because now I never get jealous with him either. Ever. I haven't in years. We've been together a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the beginning, I used to get crazy jealous with him when he would like go to meetings that I wasn't there. And like, I remember one time one of my sponsees, Ivy told me this later, one of my sponsees walked up to him after class or after a meeting and took her glasses off and used the bottom of his t-shirt, like lifted up his shirt to clean her glasses. My sponsee.
Oh my God.
And the second he got home, he was like, hey, I feel like I got to tell you this like really weird thing happened. And he was like so freaked out about it. And he told me immediately, which is also probably why I trust him.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing he did because like 30 minutes later, Ivy was like, girl, you need to call me.
Oh, God.
Is that crazy?
That's fucking wild.
And Ivy was like, and she lifted it up high. Like you could see like his whole stomach.
Oh, my God.
I know. And it was my sponsee.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
That's trifling.
It's trifling. Ivy was like, that's thirsty. This thirsty bitch. Isn't that funny? But in the beginning.
That's some audacity.
I know. The audacity. I know. But, okay, so I told you before we got started.
Okay.
I have a little bit of an outline. So for old time's sake.
Okay.
I have kind of an NDPE that I've never shared, but it's a different NDPE. So NDPE is when it's happening and you almost die.
Right.
So, but on the other end of that is when you're strung out and you haven't gone in a while and you suddenly have to go, and it's that second. There's no like you can wait to get somewhere. Like when it's on you, it's on you. When it comes on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was a moment like that. So I had a Jeep. Do you want me to wash the top off? Oh, no, it's closed, right?
Yeah.
Because Tank was licking his bottle.
Yeah, he smells me or something. I don't know.
I don't know what he was doing.
I don't know.
How sad is he with his head dipped because of his ear?
Yeah, I know his little earache.
I know. He looks like he looks even more like a gremlin. Because he's like...
but his wrinkle has gotten bigger.
Has it? His nose wrinkle?
His nose wrinkle's way bigger.
What? No.
Yes.
I don't think they get bigger when he gains weight. Or is it bigger?
It definitely looks bigger.
Okay.
It's like a crevice.
Dude, I don't know how to get him to lose weight. So I always thought pugs were just really chunky.
Right.
They kind of are.
I think they are naturally.
Yeah.
They're plump.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like when we brought him to the Pug Cafe, have you seen the Pug Cafe in Escondido?
No, I'm not going to drink water because I'm afraid I'm going to shoot water out of my mouth.
I posted on my Instagram. They have a Pug Cafe in Escondido. It's new.
Okay.
It's a Pug Cafe. So they have 12 resident pugs that work there. And so Monday through Friday, the resident pugs come in, and from 9 to 11 you can make appointments and go play with the pugs. They have a ball pit. You can buy them treats. You can bring your own pug as well, or you don't have to have one. You could just go play with pugs. And then they have a lunch break, and then from 1 to 3 or 4 you can get an hour with the resident pugs again. And then on the weekend, same thing. They've got couple hour increments where you pay for an hour to go play with the pugs at the Pug Cafe. And they have coffee and drinks and all this kind of stuff. Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty awesome.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's so cute. And they've always got little puppies there. And some of their profits go to pug rescues, of which we need a lot because pugs get ditched all the time. It's so sad. Nobody realizes how much work they are. Yeah. You think they're so cute, but that wrinkle you have to clean out all the time. They're very needy. Special. Yeah.
Needy.
Skylar is always they would not. He always had dogs that were labs and golden retrievers. And he's all other dogs have a purpose. They can do something in the world.
Yeah.
They can track, or they can help you find something, or they can, get the sheep to go, you know what I mean? They can guide other animals.
They can herd, yeah.
Yeah, they can herd. And he's but pugs, what do they do? And I'm I don't know. You're being mean. I don't know what they do. But we've looked it up, and basically they were bred to be funny. To entertain you. Their sole purpose is to entertain humans.
Tank's entertaining.
I know.
That's for damn sure.
I know. That's their whole purpose. And Skylar's always laughing. He's he can't survive in the wild. If one of his labs got away, it could live for a few weeks, a while, probably could scrounge. He can't. So I was dude, a pack of squirrels could kill him. He can never get out of our sight. I'm I know. Yeah. He's his life is constantly in danger.
Yeah.
They have to be.
That's
why
humans. He doesn't go down the stairs. He's afraid he's going to fall.
I know. Oh, but anyways, this is my point. So I always thought they're just plump. But when we went to the Pug Cafe, he's way bigger than the other ones.
Yeah.
And I did notice.
Yeah.
Yes. Even the plumpy ones. I mean, Tank is much bigger than them.
Do you give him treats all the time?
No, we don't.
Really?
So we feed him twice a day. And we've had to change his diet. He's allergic to everything. So we've changed his diet. But even Skylar and I were kind of looking at each other, and I was he's the biggest one. And Skylar's don't pug shame him. And I'm I'm not pug shaming. No. I'm just saying he's the biggest one.
He's plump.
Yeah.
Very plump.
And Skylar's all right, well, I'll take him out more on the weekends or whatever. So anyways, he was definitely the biggest.
Yeah.
How did we get here from, NDP?
NDP, yeah.
Although I don't know how that connected to pugs.
I can't remember.
Me neither.
I can't remember.
I'm going to miss this.
I don't remember how this works.
Okay, so when it comes on you, you have no choice.
Right. You just got to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had a Jeep that was broken down in my mom's driveway. This was in 2012, 13. And it was mine. And in theory, I was going to go to rehab, get sober and pay to fix this Jeep, right? And so she was like holding on to it for me, and it was in her driveway. But what I did instead was never get clean that whole time, but I still had a key to it the whole time, which I think she didn't know. And so at some point we realized we could stay there in the Jeep at night. This is when Evan and I were homeless. And so we like made our way over to where she lived in Oceanside, and we would like skitter around during the day and hustle up money, do our thing, whatever. And at like 11 o'clock at night, after she'd gone to bed, we would go in the Jeep and then lay down when they would like leave to go to work because the windows were tinted. And we actually managed to pull that off for a few weeks, and they had no idea that we were in there. And then that idiot left his shoes outside the door on the back like it was like our trailer. Like he took them off before he climbed into the Jeep. And my stepdad saw him one day. So, yeah, I know. And I was like, you fucking idiot. And they were like bright green Nike tennis shoes or something. Like they were very easy to see. And he literally like kicked his shoes off, left him on the driveway and climbed in like it was the outside of our door. But anyways, so that's where we were staying. You know, fully homeless, no access to a bathroom or anything. And I don't remember where we'd been. It was nighttime, thank God. It was nighttime, thank God. And we were over by like In-N-Out or Walmart and on Frazee in the 76, like deep Oceanside.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah.
And I had this Abercrombie sweatshirt that my aunt had given me that I loved because I never like bought myself Abercrombie clothes. But it was really cute. It was like cropped and soft, and it said Abercrombie and Fitch. And it was like one of the only things I had left that made me feel like I had used to be a human girl. You know what I mean? Like I had this one like nice sweatshirt left. So we're walking back to my mom's house to go to the Jeep. And as we're walking, I suddenly had to go. I wonder if Skylar's here.
There he is.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh, honey, are you here? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to shut the door. Is that okay? Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. Okay. Also, can you bring me an ice water, please? No, whatever you need. Okay. Do you need anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Oh, look at Tanky. Nate says Tank's wrinkle is bigger. Do you think his wrinkle is bigger? What? His wrinkle is bigger. Do you think?
What's wrong with you guys?
He gets so mad. When I interviewed Jacob, he was like, good, I'm glad you're interviewing Jacob. You want to know why? Because Jacob's not a fucking asshole, and he's not going to say that Tank is fat. He's the first one, because every other guest that comes over sees Tank, and they're like, Kevin, when he saw him, he was like...
Kevin was probably ruthless.
Kevin was like, Janine. Well, he was like concerned, which I think made it worse. He wasn't even trying to be funny. He was like, Janine, like, from the top, he's just a circle. There's no waist.
You should totally leave that in there.
Honey, will you lean into the camera or just lean down and say what you said into the mic? So Kevin said he was a circle from the top.
Yeah, Kevin's a piece of shit.
And he was like, that's not good, Janine. He's a circle. There's no waist. But anyways, Kevin's a piece of shit. Okay, so walking back and had to go.
Right.
And I was crossing the 76. There's a little neighborhood over there by the school, which is where my mom lived. And I suddenly had to go right that second. And I told Evan, I was like, go up, go away from me. Because even though we were toxic and awful, he was still my boyfriend. Right. And I'm like, you're not going to watch me poo, okay? Like, I hate you, but you're not going to watch me poo. I still, you know what I mean? I'm like, go. So he did. And like, I can't believe I'm telling the story. Nothing around me or anything. I was behind a tree and it was nighttime. I had to suddenly just go on the ground right there on the side of the road. And I went and I didn't have anything to wipe with except my Abercrombie sweatshirt.
You didn't have no socks?
I must not have. It was summertime, so I was probably in flip-flops.
Okay.
And I had to use my Abercrombie sweatshirt that I loved. And so I went and I dropped it on the ground and walked away, and we went and stayed in the Jeep. And I have always thought about the poor like landscaper or gardener from the city that had to pick that up.
That was horrified. It was, I can't, I'm sure you didn't see what it looked like, but I'm sure.
No, it was dark. It was
Yeah.
nighttime, and I just left the sweatshirt on top of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure some gardener, or not a gardener, because it's like the city area,
Yeah.
went to pick up the sweatshirt and then realized it was human poo.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I'm sure they were traumatized. I'm sure. It was like, I'm sure it was like a murder scene.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't that so sad?
Yeah, could you imagine being them and having that 3 a.m. thought of like finding your shit in that sweater?
In that sweatshirt. I know.
That would be a horrible random
I
3
know.
a.m. thought.
And like it had been a while,
Right.
so it was a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, you definitely bled.
Yeah.
You had to.
So there's a ton of bloody. Oh God.
Yeah.
And some poor guy had to pick that up.
Yeah, they wasn't ready. They wasn't ready.
Right. So, okay. So anyway, so there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to share. So we had our Monica Lewinsky story that everybody loved.
Yeah.
I have another celebrity story that I wanted to share.
Okay.
I feel like is there a booger in my nose?
No, you're totally good.
Okay. That's how you know we can share a mic that close, because I'm actually asking you that.
Yeah.
So this is another celebrity story. It doesn't involve drugs or alcohol at all, but it's just so random and weird that I thought, fuck it, people love the last one. We'll do another one. So I was living in LA, being an actress, and I was auditioning for a play called Recent Tragic Events, which is actually a great play. It's about 9/11. This twin sisters. One sister's at her apartment. She's about to go on a blind date, and her sister was in the World Trade Center. And so the guy comes to her house, to her door, and he's outside, and she's like not ready yet because she's so worried about her sister, but she's like trying to get ready for this date. So the whole play is them talking through the door as she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister. It's actually a really good show. It's a really good play, and I loved it. And I was auditioning for the role of the girl, and she is in a bathrobe for probably 75% of the show. And so I decided to wear a bathrobe to the audition. And the only bathrobe that I had was a silk. Victoria's Secret used to make these like silk robes, and it was light blue, like silk satin robe, like above the knee robe. And that was the only one that I had, but I was like, fine. So I wore my robe and flip-flops, and I just drove there like that. Like I didn't wear anything else. I just drove there like that because, I'm an idiot. And so I just got in my car and drove there and had curlers in my hair too, because she was also getting ready. So I was all the way in character. Curlers in my hair, wearing a silk bathrobe, go to this audition. And it was up in the valley somewhere, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I had to park and like walk down this long alley where there was like the back door to a bunch of businesses, go into the theater, and I auditioned. And it was like one of the worst auditions of my entire life. And this didn't normally happen to me, but for some reason it did during this one. I started, the term flop sweat, when it's just like a ton. I was flop sweating, and this satin robe was light blue. And so the whole thing, like, you could see sweat all the way down the side.
Yeah, your perspiration.
Sticking to me like crazy flop sweat. Like my flip-flops were like loose on my feet. That's how sweaty I got for whatever reason. Maybe I just really wanted the role that bad. I don't know. So I'm flop sweating. And then afterwards they're like, okay, thanks for coming in. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I know I didn't get it. I'm holding a notebook with a bunch of other shit. Like, I had a bag and a water bottle and a notebook and a ton of papers and headshots and all this shit. So I'm all flustered when I leave the theater. I have curlers in my hair, and I'm wearing a, light blue satin bathrobe, sticking to my body from sweat, literally like sloshing in my flip-flops. Walked down the alley, and I stumbled and dropped everything into the alley. And I was like, God damn it. And I got like so frustrated, and I almost started crying, and I bent down and I'm like trying to pick up all my stuff, and it has gone everywhere around me. The water bottle's like rolling away from me, one of my curlers falls out. Like I look insane. And all of a sudden I see a hand picking up a few things, and I hear, "You okay, little mama? What happened?" And I'm like, oh my God, you know what I don't need right now is some asshole to fucking hit on me. And so I'm like, I'm fine, without even looking up. And then the person was like, you don't seem fine. Let me help you. So I look up, and it's Cedric the Entertainer.
What?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I know. That comedian.
Yeah.
And it was when his show was on. The one where he was like the cafeteria lady.
Yeah.
It was when that show was on. And I loved that show. I watched it all the time. And so I look up and it's him. And I was like, hi, Cedric the Entertainer. Like, I didn't know what to say. And I called him Cedric the Entertainer. And he was like, hey, let me help you out. And he had a couple other friends like walk out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I got an office nearby. And there was a basketball hoop up. Yeah. And I think they'd been playing basketball right there.
Oh, okay.
And he was kind of vague about like where his office was because it was probably like his production office or something. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, so what's going on? You seem a little flustered. What's going on with you? And I was like, you know what, Cedric the Entertainer, you probably understand this. I came out here to be an actress and I made a choice to wear this bathrobe and I thought it was the right choice. But as you can see, it looks insane. It's sticking in my body. I really wanted this part. I'm dropping all my shit. I don't even remember where my car is. I don't know what I'm doing here. And he was like, no, I understand. I went through all that stuff myself. It's good that you made that choice. You committed to the role. It's good that you wore the bathrobe. That was a commitment choice. You know, you just got to keep going. You got to follow your heart, follow your dreams. And he gave me this like pep talk in this alley in the middle of the valley with me in a bathrobe and curlers holding a bunch of headshots. Cedric the Entertainer.
I mean, that's pretty fucking awesome, though. You know what I mean? That's pretty wholesome.
It was super cool. And he was not even sort of like hitting on me or being weird. And again, I'm 24 in a tiny silk bathrobe and not one of his friends was being weird. He definitely wasn't being weird. I don't know if he's married or whatever, but there was no, you know, because as a girl, as soon as I heard a male voice trying to help me, I was like, get the fuck out of here. But he was like standing kind of far away from me. He was never weird. And he talked to me for like 10 or 15 minutes about like following my dreams.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's so wild.
I know. And at the end, I was like, thanks, Cedric the Entertainer. I really appreciate it. I kept saying Cedric the Entertainer, which I realized later. And he was like, all right, you keep your chin up. And I was like, I will. And I like walked out of the alley.
It's just like with some pep in your step.
Never saw him again, obviously.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that weird?
That's weird, yeah.
I know. I actually have kind of a lot of like random celebrity stories like that from LA. Like one time I was in a yoga class and it was the very beginning and we were starting with, you know, the twist where you put one arm out and your knee goes and then you look that way.
Yeah.
People always look the wrong way, right? Like it happens. And then all of a sudden you're like eye to eye with someone. I went the right way and the person next to me went the wrong way. And we were so close. It was like a packed LA yoga class before there was a million studios. So we're like arms on each other's mats, right? And so we're maybe, I don't know, 12 inches apart. And I look and it was Rob Lowe.
That's so crazy.
I know.
That's fucking awesome.
I know. And I was like, I turned and looked at him and I was like, but he was looking the wrong way and I was looking the right way, but I didn't want to say that. So I was like, and I just turned the other way. Not weird.
You just played it off.
Totally. What am I going to do?
That's nice of you.
And then he was next to me the rest of the time. And then another time, I was working at Yaz, the place I got certified in Venice, like on Abbot Kinney.
Yeah.
And my friend, Dennis Morton, actually, who's like a famous Peloton instructor now, he and I were both working there. And he was also doing some private yoga. And I went to go tell him something. Like I had just gotten there and I opened the yoga room to say something. And he was standing with his back to me and he was holding someone's ankles that was practicing a headstand. And I said, hey, Dennis. And he was like, yeah. And he stepped away and it was Mina Suvari upside down.
That's so wild. Yeah.
And she just like looked at me from upside down. I was like, hi, Mina Suvari, upside down. Hey, Dennis. And I just like walked back out. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I've definitely had some experiences, like not like your experiences, but I've definitely like ran into some notorious people in LA before, just like randomly.
The longer you live there, the more likely that is to happen.
Yeah.
Another time, this is a really weird story. I was waiting tables at a restaurant and I had you know what? I'm not going to tell the story. It's boring. I gave my number to somebody. It's a boring story. It ended up being Leonardo DiCaprio's stepbrother. And his wife freaked out and called me. It was like a whole fucking thing. But
what is it with women and you, like in LA? Like
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I know. I don't know. I don't know.
Like one kicked the door in, Leonardo DiCaprio's brother,
Yeah,
whatever, his wife's getting
which
sick.
I didn't even know he had a brother, but it's his stepbrother. So, I mean, I guess now I have to tell it. But so I was waiting on this guy, and I never gave out my number to anybody, ever, ever, ever. I'm just not, that's not how I meet people, right? I'm just not like, you could pick me up somewhere. Even when I was drinking or doing coke or whatever, like, I'm just not friendly enough. But this guy was like really funny and interesting, and like sat at my table in my section for a little while, smoking cigarettes, and we were talking, and he was genuinely really cool. And at the end of it, he asked me for my phone number. And I never, ever, ever give out my number. But I did. I actually gave him my number. That day, remember when if your cell phone bill didn't go through, they would actually just shut it off. Mm-hmm. So that night, it got shut off. And so I never know, like, I've never known if he, like, called me or whatever. Totally forgot that happened. And, like, a week later, I'm at work. This is when I was working at the Omni in downtown LA. I'm at work. And one of the hostess comes around the corner with the restaurant phone. And she was like, hey, you have a phone call? And she covered it, and she was like, this lady is mad. And I was like, what the fuck? And I got on the phone, and the woman was like, is your name Janine? And I said, yeah. And she was like, did you have sex with my husband? And I was like, probably not. Who's your husband? And she said, it's Leonardo DiCaprio's brother. And I was like, I don't think so. That doesn't sound familiar. What? And she was like, well, this receipt is in my husband's wallet, and it says Omni at the top with your name. So do you know who I'm talking about? And then she kind of described him, and I realized who she meant. It's actually his stepbrother. Right. I don't know why she's a brother, but I realized who she meant. And I told her the truth. I was like, oh, okay. He asked me for my number. It was unclear that he was married, obviously, but he didn't actually end up calling me that night. And she was like, okay, this man. And I was like, yeah, I'm really sorry. And she was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't even know, Yeah. And I'm like, I've got tables,
Yeah.
And the bartender's like, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm really sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
That's shitty.
I know. Isn't that weird about the Cedric the Entertainer, the story, though?
Yeah, that's so random.
It's like one of the most random things that's ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool experience.
I know. It was actually very cool.
Yeah.
I'll never forget looking up, and he was like, let me help you out. And I was like, Cedric the Entertainer? It felt like a movie. Oh. It was so
random.
I know.
The most randomest of things.
I know. So anyways, that was my other celebrity story, because I know people liked the Monica Lewinsky.
That was a great story.
Yeah. So, okay. I want to talk about, you offered to talk about this, and I think it's a great idea.
Oh, okay.
You got involved in brain spotting therapy recently. Yeah. Which I've heard of.
Yeah.
Our doctor, who is also your doctor, recommended it for Skylar.
Okay.
And we didn't go through it. We didn't pursue it. This was like maybe a year and a half ago or so. But I remember thinking it sounded really cool. And you texted me about a month ago or two and said, hey, I'd like to talk about this experience because it was really pretty cool. So can you just tell us what they would do?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you like what it is like medically.
I would say Google it. I actually randomly Googled it recently.
Yeah.
So I would say to the audience, Google it so you understand what it does. It's kind of like rewiring your brain somehow.
Yeah, it's basically a different mechanism of EMDR pretty much. Mm-hmm. And it started in the South, in the Midwest, and then moved west. As I think EMDR is more prevalent out here. Okay. But basically, they'll be like, when you think of so-and-so, where do you feel this in your body? And you tell them where you feel it, and you focus in on that body because trauma gets stored in the body, right? And then they have a stick, right? And they hold it out there, and you're supposed to track on the stick by moving your eyes up and down, up and down. And that's essentially what they do with the EMDR because they put those lights in front of you, and you're tracking the light, and they put the vibrations in your hand. Right. But with brain spotting, you don't do that. You just track on the stick. And
do they move it back and forth like this?
They do it like so. They'll be like, take your gaze and move it over here, and it kind of like somehow.
But the person is holding it physically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I guess it simulates REM, like EMDR.
Yeah.
Like going into REM sleep is where like your subconscious mind opens up and things like that. Probably the craziest experience I had was, what were we talking about? I think we were talking about just like my substance use and stuff like that. and like feeling alone and stuff like that, because I'd been like feeling like super alone and like uncertain about things. This was probably like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And it took me back to a memory in Tennessee, and I was like alone in my room, and I'd been doing like a bunch of 30s, and I was like, fuck, man, nobody knows how this feels. You know what I mean? I had drugs, but I was high, but I still just like couldn't get well. I couldn't get well. You know what I mean? I couldn't feel okay even when I had all the drugs. You know what I mean? It just wasn't working anymore. And somehow, some way, like I was like, I don't know how this happens. I can't explain it, but I was like in that memory, so to speak, and I was having a conversation with that version of myself. And she said like my lips were moving and I was mumbling stuff. And she asked me, she was like, were you just having like a conversation with the person, your version of yourself in the memory? And I was like, yeah, I was talking to him.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it was just like, what the fuck?
Do you remember what the conversation was?
It was just about, I was mumbling like what I was thinking in that moment.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it's like you were back into that moment.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, I wasn't like.
You were like hypnotized.
Yeah. It wasn't like what I see was there, but like I was like almost disassociated, but like not disassociated.
Wow.
You know, and I was kind of like in that moment, and I could, and she said like, she said like, how do you feel right now? And I was like, I kind of feel like I'm high right now. And she said like, you can, when those things happen, you can feel how you felt in that moment. And I felt like fucking wild.
Wow.
And so yeah, and basically, like I think she was able to like go in and like, you know, I can talk to that version of myself and say something like, you know, what would you tell that version of yourself now? You know what I mean? If you had something nice to like say to them.
What would you say, or what did you say?
I was just like, you know, you're not alone. Like there's people out there that know exactly how you feel, that have been there before you. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, like there was that happened, and then, I mean, it's definitely been a healing process. I mean, it's been like I've definitely bawled my eyes out doing this therapy, like bawled, and I'm not really one to cry, and not to even act tough or anything. I just like. It's very hard for me to show emotion because it just, you know how you feel like it's like onsetting, like emotion or something like that? Well, just for me, like when it happens, it just, I can't explain it. But
how many sessions have you done?
Oh, I've been doing, when I started the first 2 months, I did 2 sessions a week for like 2 months.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
What changes have you seen?
Definitely more comfortable, more relaxed. Yeah, I'm not as uptight, not as like high strung.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
What did you want to work on? What was your reason for going there? For anxiety?
It was for anxiety. It was around the time when the time when like when Kango died and Jason died and Gato got murdered, and I can't remember who else died that time, but it was around that time I was just like super on edge and just feeling fucking crazy, and I hadn't realized that I hadn't been taking my medication regularly, and it was causing like some adverse side effects. Yeah. So that was like messing with me.
You'd quit your job, I think, too, right?
Was on the verge of quitting my job when that happened too. So 4 of my friends died. I hadn't realized I hadn't been taking my medication because life was so crazy, and then resigned from my job like right after that.
Wow. After you started the therapy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's interesting to me too, because I wonder if you starting that therapy prompted you to finally quit.
It did.
You think?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. It was, I think it was just like letting go of things that didn't serve me, you know, and that's kind of like what the process has done. It's like it's allowed me to like look at like my thoughts, my processes, my viewpoints, anything in my life that doesn't serve me, and like push it away and like let it go.
Yeah.
And I had already been on this process of trying to like heal more. You know, I mean, I just did it today before I came here.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've been doing it the whole time.
Oh shit.
And
okay. Where are you doing it? Where are you going to do it?
I
want to do it.
This person is in Carlsbad. I'll give you the information.
Yeah, I would love the information. Does insurance cover it?
Yeah,
really?
They take insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I might pay like $35 copay out of pocket, but
I want to do it.
It's not. She's amazing. She's
okay.
Yeah. What was the question?
Initially, what changes do you think you've seen as a result?
Yeah. So definitely more peaceful. I'm able to like let things go. I'm able to like see my thoughts and like hold on to the good ones and like release the bad ones, just like let them kind of go on. You know what I mean? But yes, to your question, it definitely prompted me to let go of that job that hadn't been serving me anymore. And it was basically just like I've been on this path and it's just not serving me. It's not conducive to my life anymore. It's more of a burden than it is something good. And then I just resigned.
Yeah. Do you regret quitting that? Because then I started to think, so you quit and now you're moving a few months later. And so I started thinking, shit, I wonder if he regrets quitting because then you're kind of having to move. Do you regret quitting or no?
No, I'm not moving because of finances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you're moving because you want to.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. So you don't regret quitting?
No, I mean, no, not at all.
Okay.
It's definitely probably one of the healthiest things I've done.
Oh,
and,
good.
Like in the last year for sure was definitely very healthy for me to do that.
Okay.
No longer served me, dragged me down. Was stressful and not conducive to my life or my overall well-being.
Yeah.
But no, that process definitely helped me. And I mean, she told me something crazy today, but she said I'm like super empathetic. And I think everybody probably knows that.
Yeah.
And she basically said that like when I see or experience trauma, whether more so secondary trauma, like other people tell me their trauma of hearing it, she says I take it all on. And she was like, I'm surprised you're not dead, is what she told me. And I don't know if that's because like she's afraid I'm like gonna fucking off myself or what, but
right.
That was like literally her exact words she told me today.
Well, there have been many times I've told you this where I thought I would get that phone call.
Yeah.
As you've struggled and come out. But you know what? Now I don't worry about that though, because now I know you well enough to know that though you go through those really dark times, I don't think there's a part of you that really actually wants to not be here anymore. You just are going through the dark time. And of course you want that to end.
Yeah.
But I don't see you ever actually like, I don't worry about it the way that I used to.
Yeah. You're not the first person to tell me that. There's just some things, and I mean, maybe it's because I'm super empathetic, but I mean, there's some things that you hear or see, like when you're doing this work, that's just, it's not, like when someone tells me there's secondary trauma, like I can feel it, and it's almost like I go there.
Yeah.
When someone tells me that they watch someone get murdered and they're in their tent and they're afraid that they're going to come off them because they're a witness, you know what I mean? Like that's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's some fucked up shit, and like how do we... You know what I mean? Like, I feel that shit.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's hard not to get down or be sad. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's learning how to like, just to feel that and be there for them. But also you have to like push it away because it's not my burden to bear. It's not my trauma to bear. You know what I mean? But for me, that's hard to navigate.
Totally. Yeah. So what's going on with you recovery wise? What's like, doing any meetings, sponsors, meetings, just working out? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, working out. I still have a sponsor. I'm almost done with the steps. I've been kind of...
Oh, okay. You went through them again.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah.
What step are you on?
About to be on 9.
Okay.
And so doing that, and gym, and I guess just running around doing fun things. I mean, art.
Right. Okay. Did you see PVC? What's his name? PVC Gray.
Yeah.
Was on Dopey.
Yeah.
Full on talking about everything and everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
So I think you're okay. I mean, yeah. Yeah. He's good too.
Yeah.
He did a Dopey.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I seen that. Yeah. I seen that. Yeah. No, I talk to Gray a lot. Actually.
You do? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gray knows some people that I know in Philadelphia, which is where he was at.
His story was. His Kensington story is dark.
Yeah, my friend served that area in Kensington, so he knew some similar people. I can't remember how we connected on Instagram. Yeah, but we've always just like talked and stuff like that, and so. But I'm glad that Gray did Dopey. I told him to get a hold of you as well.
Oh, good. I would totally love to interview him. Yeah. He's got like a year,
a little over a year, over a year now.
Yeah. No, and I'm really proud of him. That was a big one to come back from.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep? Is there a way for you to keep doing that in Tennessee? It's too small of a.
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done it there.
I mean, you got to drive to a city, right?
And I've done it. We're in my hometown.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not as it's the harder. It's not harder to do, but there's not as many places.
Yeah, I was gonna, like actual literal structures. There's not as many.
There's not as many. Yeah, and so I try not to burn the town on it.
Yeah,
you know
that's what I
mean?
was also going to say. What is the therapeutic benefit of that for you? And I didn't know y'all called it writing. I heard that. I learned that from the Dopey.
From Gray.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just like a mix of emotions. It's it's like you get to see yourself progress, and it's like when you're gonna go do it, your heart's just like boom, 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 boom. It's like pounding, and then like once you start doing it, that goes away, and like this sense of peace comes over you. It's like really fucking weird. And it's just like my head, I'm just in the moment, like truly in the moment. And it's like a freedom thing too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a way to like express myself, and it's just like, it's like very ASMR, like very, it's just therapeutic. And I mean, that's the reason why. I mean, I was always interested in the culture growing up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because we would like trains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like coal trains, and I would see it. And I would be like, how the fuck do they do that?
Yeah.
And then here's the Mecca, and so I started
San Diego or Southern California?
just like mainly like LA, but there's a scene here too.
Okay,
you know what I
okay.
mean? And I was like, I just want to try this, you know.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize like how therapeutic it was going to be for me.
Well, I think that's how you know something is really aligned with yourself, because that's how you feel. The way you just described, that's how I feel when I teach spin.
Yeah.
Not always, but most of the time. Like, it's one of the things I'm all less so now because I've been doing it for so long, which is kind of a bummer. But like all the way in it, like in flow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
speaking when I'm leading a meeting.
Yeah. Well,
that I liked, you know.
Yeah, there's that, and there's definitely some ego involved in this too.
Oh,
though.
you think?
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
okay.
If anybody tells you there's not ego involved in it, they're lying to you.
The ego is I'm doing something I'm not supposed to, but I'm doing it anyways. Fuck it.
Yeah, well, it's that, but it's like it's that, and it's just like that, and like pushing yourself, like pushing the limits, you know, of your capabilities and what you can do, or like I like risk my freedom to go put what I write up there, and I did it, and you know, and like it looks good, or you know, I've gotten better, or like whatever. And then it's just like it's also a lot of it's about moving respectfully, you know what I mean? In that, like, and that's something like I feel like I take pride in, because I've moved like respectfully and like doing this in a sense. Yeah.
Can you share the craziest place you've ever written?
Probably.
Or difficult to get to?
I mean, probably the craziest place is like downtown LA, probably, because there's just so much fucking shit going on around.
Okay.
I mean, the last time we almost got shot, like we were damn near about to get shot.
Okay. Not by police, by other people.
No, we weren't even there yet. You know, we were like, we went and met this person, and we dropped them off some stuff, and like. This was just like a side mission before we went to go do our thing. We weren't even like doing it yet. And I didn't know where we were at, you know, and the homie was just like, yo, don't do anything here. Like there's gangs and shit, like the whole fucking trip. And I was like, all right. So we're with the person, we're chopping it up, and like this car pulls up, and they like slam on the brakes, and like, yo, like, where are you from, homie? Where are you from? And he was like, yo, I'm so-and-so from Mata Salvatrucha, what's up? And that's MS, like MS-13, like MS.
Okay.
And which is fucking crazy because he don't gangbang. And so,
right.
Yeah, he's not a gangbanger. And I don't know how he didn't know, or maybe he just tried to scare him, but like most of the Hispanic gangs up there beef it with MS. Oh. And so, and the crazy, like the thing that I didn't care, like, to, you know, get banged on, like none of that shit, like what, that shit just happens. It's just what it is. The shit that tripped me out the most was there was a youngster in the back seat that had a shiesty on. Oh. And I was like...
What does that mean?
Like a mask. They had a mask. They had a mask on.
That's like one of the ones that you pull up over your nose, like the long one?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had a shiesty on, and I was like, yo, is this kid about to get their bones? Like
me and
the guy I was with were like tripping on it. Like that was the thing that's like freaked me, because I was like,
that's a very realistic probability.
Yeah, I was like, is this kid about to like put themselves on with this shit? You know what I mean? Because I mean that's what I was zoned in on. I was like waiting for them to like reach, or like what the fuck ever. You know. So it was just like, Yeah, we haven't even, that's just the reality. I mean, that's just like part of it. You know what I mean? Like that shit happens.
So you just left. You didn't end up doing anything there?
Hell, well, we weren't painting there. We were literally just dropping him off some stuff. And then we went to like somewhere down the street. We got the fuck out of there.
You're
like
right.
when we left, they were like yelling at me and like banging on me and like, like all that shit. And that was just a weird fucking, like when we were leaving, the car in front of me started backing up. I was like, yo, is this bitch trying to block me the fuck in? And I was like,
weird.
yo, yeah. And it was just like a weird ass fucking night. We got rolled, like LAPD rolled up on us like we had just got done. You know what I mean? And then like the bird was flying over. They were looking for somebody. And then like fucking this one security was following us around. And then,
weird.
Yeah. And then when we left the last spot, as we were leaving, like, I think I was just paranoid because that shit just happened. But some car pulled up like right behind us as we were leaving. I was like, yo, we gotta fucking.
You gotta get out of here.
I was like, yo, this is just too. And maybe it's like I feel like that's probably norm for LA. You know what I mean.
Sure.
So if you're from there, that's probably like whatever. But I don't know that's usually I'm not that paranoid,
right?
But that situation just like fucking put me on edge. And
totally,
I was just like
totally
super. But I will say like. In that lifestyle, or even in a sense, like in those areas, or just like you just got to keep your head on a swivel. You know what I mean? Especially like 1 o'clock at night, like in the areas where you got to be vigilant regardless of what you're doing. It's just like the reality of it.
So, say someone just got here. So my last question.
Yeah.
24, 25-year-old guy just gets here from Tennessee or Iowa or Georgia or whatever, and they have 60 days sober, they just detoxed, they just got to San Diego, everything is expensive as fuck, they're in their program, but they're gonna have to start like moving on and living here and being in the world. What advice do you give that guy?
I would say
you also always look ginormous in this to me. Have you noticed that? I keep thinking.
I'm not even like. I'm not flexing. I have a baggy shirt on.
I keep thinking that you're scooted forward, but you're not.
You're saying I'm just like broad?
I guess, yeah. But scoot this way because I think we have been losing you a tiny bit. Oh. But anyways, that's okay.
Yeah, I have a baggy shirt. This is a baggy shirt.
Right.
I don't know how I look jacked. I don't know how. I'm not trying to.
I know you're not. That's all right.
I would say.
Oh my God! You didn't even notice my shirt. Straight out of rehab.
Straight out of rehab. Yeah, I know. I noticed it. Hell yeah. Welcome back. No, I'm kidding. I would say make the most out of if you have to ride your bike or a skateboard, make that. I did that shit. So if you're familiar with Oceanside, I skated or rode my like little BMX bike from Mesa, like Mesa Liquor right there, Mesa, whatever the fuck, like Mission Avenue. And Mesa, right? So I skated from there to downtown Carlsbad.
Oh, that's a long way.
Yeah, it's like 3 miles, maybe a little more.
But it's a nice ride. You go into the downtown area and then go down the coast.
Yeah, so I would either do that.
But it's long.
Yeah, I would either do that or bomb Crouch Street as far as I could and then go up Oceanside Boulevard and then down coast.
Okay.
So it would really just depend. But that was like probably especially because I like skateboarding, but to me that was like the most peaceful time because I got to decompress and I figured out so many things on those on those like rides at night or during the day, and it was just like, and I realized that I was already ahead of people even though I felt behind because I was showing up to work early when other people had a car, and I realized I was like, okay, these people may have things that I don't have, but I'm ahead of them because I'm here on time and I shouldn't be here on time, like that early, you know what I mean? So there's like I have qualities about myself that I can build off of.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
like enjoy that kind of stuff. You also used to listen to your Discover Weekly every week on Spotify, right?
Yeah. So
listen to music while you're skateboarding.
Yeah. And I would just find things to get excited about that I never got to enjoy or look forward to. And I think that stuff comes back over time as like your brain heals. But I just found things to get excited about. Like I got excited about like skating again because it was like something I loved to do. And then like, I lost myself. So I would say find yourself. Like if you feel like you lost yourself, like go and like do the things that you feel like you lost again. And like, because there's things that like just brought me an incredible amount of joy that were just so simple back then.
Yeah.
And that was before like life got complicated. It was so easy back then. It was just like I went to work and I came home and I went to a meeting. You know what I mean? It was so simple. It's so simple. And like, I feel like I don't think I took it for granted, but sometimes I miss those days and like how simple it was. And it's really just a time to grow and like focus, just focus on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I wouldn't get in my head about trying to be where people are at that have got like 10, 20 years. Like they were in your shoes. You know what I mean? And I would say like, you know, find like even outside of like sponsorship and you know, like find somebody that has wealth that you want, ask them how they did it. Find somebody that has your career that you want, ask them how they did it. Like, you know, if you want, like, just ask questions.
Yeah.
Just live unapologetically, and just even in fear, just sell out to what you want.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love that.
not compromising morals or ethics, but like, you know what I mean? Just like go all out for yourself.
Yeah. And that's so true about taking the bus, but being there earlier. That's the other thing. You're developing skills, even when you feel like you're so behind, that will serve you later. Same thing with me. I was always late until I had to start taking the bus. And then I was always well on time before anybody else. And it was really
early.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And it was really simple. I definitely miss that sometimes when I was living in my sober living, and all I did was drive to work, go home, smoke.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you know I was going to say that?
Yeah.
And then go to, you know, I'm not allowed to smoke anymore, which is good. But like, you know, it was real easy. You know what I mean?
It was just simple.
I only had like 5 things.
Yeah.
You know?
The responsibilities were incredibly easy.
Yeah.
And it was just like.
And it feels like you're such a failure, but I guess we're both kind of saying the same thing, which is enjoy those moments. The moments in sober living, I know it's annoying as fuck, but it's also real simple. All your utilities are included in the rent.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like it's real simple at that time.
I just think that's where I probably experienced the most growth.
Is during that time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the fastest and the most, I wouldn't, maybe not the most growth, but the most growth overall.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Because that's like probably the darkest times, but some, like, as far as being in your head, maybe, but I feel like it's the times that you grow the most, or I did anyway.
Yeah, me too. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for doing the show with me. I've really appreciated it.
Yeah, well, thank you you're the one that asked me, so thank you.
Yeah. When you're back out, we'll do when you visit, we should make a point to do a catch up. Because I always said I would do that with Kim, and we never have. But
we can totally
we'll do a thing.
Yeah.
So. Well, thanks, man. I love you very much.
Yeah, I love you too. Thank you for having me.